Welcome back to Sunday Supplement. Let's talk Chelsea. Fantastic win, if you can call it that. Jack Rosser was there at Stamford Bridge. 7-0 against Port Vale. Your paper, The Sun on Sunday, any port in a storm, Liam 7 after week of hell. It always seems to be, yes, great, but with Chelsea, but a much needed fillip after what's been a really eventful and a negative week at Stamford Bridge.
Yeah, it was quite. They scored after 63 seconds, and you sort of go to the game thinking the last thing anyone needs here is a proper upset. That would really, there's been there 3 months, and the amount of noise and nonsense he's had to deal with, mainly generated by himself and his players, has been. It must have felt like a lifetime for him. So for them to score after 63 seconds, you could see Rosenior, where we are at Stamford Bridge, we're right behind the home dugout. Sort of see him just go, oh, right, thank God, right, we can get going now. But then for big clubs, these ties, you can't win. You either put in a poor performance and you've made too many changes, disrespected it. The worst thing is you get a huge upset. If you win, it's still, well, obviously you've won. Even if it's 7, clean sheet, no one got sent off, that's always quite good for Chelsea this year. That sort of performance, you very quickly back onto, well, Enzo Fernandez was here, sat right behind you, big grin on his face. I really like the picture of him and Cucurella. That's just fantastic, those two having a little smile and a chin wag after what they've been doing this week. But it was just, he needed no more problems yesterday. He spoke before the break about not being able to sleep after the PSG games, the Newcastle game, going over things. He would have at least got a bit of kit last night.
Martin, your piece in the Sunday Times focuses on Chelsea. I will just quote you back some of your piece.
Just in case I've forgotten.
The Chelsea project is unravelling, you say, and even if it wasn't, there remains a need to sell. The flaw in buying raw talent and developing it is that time is not elastic. Jack mentioned Enzo Fernandez. He's 25, approaching his peak years. He doesn't want to spend them with a club that is uncertain of making the Champions League. And yesterday's cruise into the FA Cup semi-final against the team bottom of League One is not going to cut it. Clearly, you feel there has to be a change of approach, but is that at odds at what the owners actually care about? Is it more a business rather than what happens on the pitch?
Well, there's that element to it.
And are they maybe missing a trick that one follows and feeds into the other?
I mean, I think people have thought they're missing a trick for a little while now. But look, what the owners want, it's venture capitalists. They're venture capitalists, so it's money. There's 2 ways of getting money. You're a successful club, or you're a good trading club. Either one of those and the project will work. They don't think, Chelsea's attitude is, we can't compete with Manchester City for Mark Guehi. We can't compete with Liverpool for Alexander Isak on wages and probably not on fees either. So what we've got to do is buy young talent and develop it over 7, 8 seasons. That's why everyone gets these long contracts, these amortised deals, which is why the agents' fees are so high, because it's every single year, all the agents' fees kicking in. The problem with that is players haven't got 7, 8 years. Investors might have 7, 8 years. Fenway Sports, the Fenway Sports Group can look at Liverpool as a long-term project, but Philippe Coutinho and Raheem Sterling, they needed it to happen now, and they left. And actually they missed some good stuff, but they left because players want immediate success. You get to 25, where am I in the Champions League? Am I winning things? And that's the problem that Chelsea have got, and that's why you've got guys like Fernandez now talking out of turn. Cucurella, I think, will be 28 in the summer. He hasn't got 4 or 5 years for Esteval to suddenly become the player that we think he's going to be. For all of these young guys to get together, he'll be 32. His game is all about his recovery pace. Has he got recovery pace at 32? Does he get in the team? So all of these questions will be going around. So I can understand what Chelsea are trying to do, but I can also understand why it's got a flaw at the centre of the idea.
Jason, George Sims, who was at Stamford Bridge for The Observer, picks up on what Martin had written in his piece. He says the biggest Chelsea story of the big Chelsea story week has been somewhat buried. On Thursday, Rossini appeared to back up reports that the club are open to signing players older than 25. And he says this would end one of the greatest acts of institutional self-harm in recent footballing memory, an admission of gross failure years too late, but none that is vital.
Yeah.
Over the top or fair?
A little. No, it's a fair comment. I mean, I remember speaking to a sporting director once about this kind of recruitment strategy that obviously some clubs are following in terms of the younger players. And he made a very good point, and he showed me on his laptop how they do it. And you band players, you put them in bands, you age band them. And you always have to have a few in that top older bracket to give you that experience, leaving the mix. Brighton are a great example of that. Brighton are a fantastic example of that in the way they've brought in some of those older players, often on a free transfer. So obviously the costs are less, but absolutely right. The problem with it, as Martin's alluding to, is it's like an experiment, basically, of trying. And I think sometimes with these guys, and I've seen this before with people in football, and this sounds rude, and I'm going to say it anyway. You get these guys who come into football and you talk to them and they think they're the smartest guys in the room.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to reinvent the game. They're going to change everything. It's going to be like this. And I won't name names, but 2 or 3 executives I've met, they absolutely are convinced they're the smartest guys in the room. And they may well be, but anyone who thinks they're the smartest guy in the room tends not to be. But also, even if he does it, even if he is, it's a dangerous thing to be. And sometimes things are obvious. And it's obvious that with Chelsea, yes, it's fine. They brought down the wage bill. They bought all these players. They've paid huge amounts of money for them, by the way. These aren't like bargains they've been picking up and like players they've developed. Like Fernandes, how are they ever going to get the money back on Fernandes? What's the economic model with that then? I think sometimes they look at it, and obviously sports need to evolve and change and so forth. But the way they've gone about it, I think most of us looked at it and thought, I'm not sure that's ever going to work, the way they're doing it. And it needs tweaking, as I say, the way George talking, obviously the column that Martin's written, there's a fundamental flaw at the centre of it. There's a fundamental flaw.
Do you think they've brought his value down, Enzo Fernandez, by banning him?
How much do you think he's worth? Oh, by banning him? I thought it was pathetic. I thought it was absolutely pathetic. What are you banning him for? I mean, what's the point? Fine him, do what you want, but I mean, you can't play against Port Vale. Wow, I know it's Man City the next game, but then that's self-harm.
Yeah, that is. We're talking of
If I found a player in the dressing room, and I've just found out that Enzo Fernandez is banned for 2 games, I'm thinking really? What's he banning him for? I mean, fine him if you want, make him do community service, do something, but don't ban him. I mean, I just think it's like we're going to be really tough with you and really hard, and we're going to do this to you. And everyone, they're not criticising my colleagues, but they all wrote, "Oh, this is amazing," and I was sitting there thinking, is it? What's the point? This is not really grown-up business way of working in a working environment, is it? What was interesting is contrast that to what Pep Guardiola did with Rodri. And he said basically, yeah, okay, he might wants to play for Real Madrid and blah, 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 but we're going to offer him a new contract. But if he wants to go, go. And that's what Pep does, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you want to go, go. But he does it in an adult fashion. He does it in a grown-up way. He doesn't do it in this kind of like, I'm going to take... What if he banned Rodri for yesterday's game? What would be the... It's kind of crazy.
They've been in a muddle all season, though, in terms of how to discipline their players, have some sort of accountability at the club.
But now it's like, I'm hard. I'm going to ban you.
Exactly. They've nearly got an 11 of players that have been sent off, which includes a coach as well, because Maresca got sent off against Liverpool earlier in the season. And all year it's been, no, we won't fine them, we want to be nice to them, we'll turn it, and it's not worked. And now suddenly they get the stick out, and he's laughing on the bench behind him. Supposedly had another chat yesterday, his agent's mouthing off as well, saying, it's unfair. It's just created more of a problem, and really, maybe it's the first attempt to correct this, and whether it works or not, we don't know. There's been such a lack of accountability at that club all season, whether it's to the manager, between the players. You spoke about Brighton being a good example of having the leadership you need. Chelsea were a good example.
Yeah.
Thiago Silva at the back.
Thiago Silva, yeah.
And he kept the squad in line. There's no one in there that you look at in the squad and think, when Enzo and Cucurella come back, that would have pulled them aside and gone, don't do that again within the squad.
Yeah.
What do you think you're doing? You're embarrassing all of us doing that.
When,
or put a challenge in training or something like that.
That when in going back to Jose Mourinho's time, when Didier Drogba came over, and Didier Drogba dived, very spectacularly dived, and it was John Terry who took him to one side. John Terry, captain of the club, and went, "We don't do that over here. We don't, no one stands for that over here. We don't do that now." sounds like a man out of time even more 20 years later, but at the time it had a big effect. Drogba didn't do it anymore.
Brilliant.
I was just very happy with the application, the intensity levels of the team. I think it stemmed from that. Obviously, we've got outstanding players, and some of the goals we scored in the play that we did have was very good. But when you watch the application of the group in the first half, the way we chased, the way we tackled, that gave us the basis to go on and win the game.
It was good to see Enzo again today as well.
Yeah.
His agent Javier Pastore isn't happy with the 2-goal sanction. He says it's unfair and unjustified. What's your response to that?
That's his opinion. I don't have anything to say on someone else's opinion. Enzo knows what I think of him, and it was brilliant to see him here to support the players today. And we'll move forward and make sure we have a really good run into the season.
And he says through his agent that he's apologised to the fans. Has he actually apologised though to you and the players?
I said yesterday, the conversations I have with my individual players, with Enzo, with anyone in the squad, when it comes to things like this, stay within. For the dressing room is sacred. I made it really clear yesterday what I think of him as a person. He's a top guy, but at the same time, I want us now to focus on the football and achieve what we want to achieve through the season.
Peter?
Liam, just one more on that. Has Enzo said to you that he feels that the sanctions unfair?
I will let, in the right time, in the right moment, which isn't now, when we're going through what we've gone through, I'm sure the discussion will happen in terms of what's been said between me and Enzo. Me and Enzo are in a very good place. I saw him today, had a really good conversation with him today on a one-to-one, and things aren't what people maybe think they are.
Can I just ask about your selection today? It seemed like you didn't leave much to chance with the players you picked. Some of them been on to jump Pedro, Aristidal, Cole Palmer. What was the thinking behind that? Was it just not taking risks?
Our next game is in 8 days. I think this is the first clear week I have to work with the team before Manchester City. We played 19 games, 20 games in 10 weeks.
Jack?
Liam, you've just spoken there about sort of what you've been through and all of that, and a lot that's been happening. You spoke about after the PSG game it being a bit difficult to sleep when you're going over things like that. Is there, when it's a goal so early, is it just a bit of relief for you as well at the moment? You can smile and enjoy the day after the last few weeks.
I think every manager will tell you at the final whistle is when the relief is there. I think it's been a really important week, the international break, in terms of myself and the staff and the club. Obviously, the players went away. When you go through a difficult moment that we did in those that 10-day period, you come out of it, and once you analyse it and you come back stronger and you know what you want to fix it. I've got a group of players who still believe, as I do, we can have an outstanding season in terms of winning an FA Cup, in terms of qualifying for a Champions League.
And in terms of you saying it's a really important time for you and your staff, do you feel different as a manager because of that time?
Yeah, I think every experience there's been a lot of talk about experience. Every experience you have can make you stronger, can make you better, even if in the moment it's painful. We've played the reality for me and my staff is we came in January. We had a game every 3 days for pretty much a 2.5 month period. Anyone will tell you that's difficult. You're learning as you go. Having that time to analyse, to dissect, to digest what's happened has helped us, and hopefully it will help us at the end of the season.
Keris?
Yeah. Yeah, so I did my press conference before training yesterday. Unfortunately, Jamie, in training yesterday, picked up what looks like a hamstring injury again. We have to scan him and make sure. It's a real shame for him. I think it's the third time it's happened. We need to help him, and we need to make sure he's okay. I can't give you a time frame on that at the moment.
And your first, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, your first trip back to Wembley since the FA Cup final with Hull. How is that for you to go back there as a manager?
That's what you dream of. But as I keep saying, people keep asking me questions about what does it mean for me. I'm manager or head coach of a huge club where it's deemed normal for us to be in that situation. So I'll think about Wembley when we're there. We've got a huge game against Manchester City next Sunday that my focus is fully on now.
Dave?
Cole Palmer's captain today.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the thinking behind that decision?
I think it's a natural step for Cole where he is in his career. He shows leadership. You have different types of leadership. You have players who talk, who organise. What Cole does and where he leads is he's so brave, and he'll take the ball on the pitch. And if he makes a mistake, he'll take the ball and be positive again. That reflects what I want in this team. I felt Cole led the team magnificently in the game today.
We were trying to work out whether that was the first time he'd been Chelsea captain. Was that, to your knowledge, was that the case?
I think, to my knowledge, yes.
Just his reaction when you talked him through it beforehand.
Cole's happy about it.
Dom?
Just following on from that, we've seen obviously a very young player still. Do you clearly must see some of those traditional leadership
Yeah.
qualities from him?
Oh, like I've said, you lead in different ways. Cole is a player in big moments who can win you games. But what if you watch the game today with Cole or with Zhao, they're tracking back, they're chasing back into their own box. Pedro Neto is making tackles in his own box. You have to go back to basics. I felt the players in terms of the fundamentals of the game today were very, very good, and Cole led by example.
And the youngster on his debut.
Yeah. Yeah, I was so happy for Ryan. I had the pleasure of watching him in the FA Youth Cup game maybe 6 weeks ago, and I know a lot about the academy. The academy coaches fill me in a lot about the players. I felt it was a really good moment for Ryan and for what is traditionally an outstanding academy to have another debut.
We'll finish with Paul.
Hi Liam. Regarding Liam Delap, there's a suggestion that Ireland want to get him to play for them. Is that something that's crossed your desk? Can you tell us something about it?
Not yet, no.
Would he be ready for senior international?
Yeah, I think Liam's ready. He's playing at a world-class football club. He's played Champions League football. He scored goals for Ipswich last season in the Premier League. Whether it's England or Ireland, Liam is more than good enough to play international football.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Arsenal's internal shakeup continues, and the latest departure signals that the restructuring behind the scenes is far from over. James Ellis has stepped down from his role as technical director just 7 months after being promoted. According to BBC Sport, Ellis, who only took on the position last August after serving as head of recruitment, has now left the club amid what appears to be a wider internal overhaul. His exit doesn't come in isolation. In December, Arsenal appointed former Napoli executive Maurizio Micheli to a senior recruitment role, a move widely seen as part of the club's long-term structural reset. Just months earlier, Andrea Berta had been confirmed as sporting director, effectively replacing Edu Gaspar. That appointment alone signaled a new era. Now, with Ellis gone, the transformation feels even more deliberate. Ellis joins Edu and former CEO Vini Venkatesham among high-profile departures from the Emirates hierarchy. Both Edu and Venkatesham moved on to new roles. Edu taking on a global director of football position at Nottingham Forest, and Venkatesham joining Tottenham. However, neither situation appears entirely stable. Edu's time at the City Ground has reportedly been turbulent. Nottingham Forest's dramatic drop in form since his arrival has raised serious questions about the project's direction, and indications suggest his tenure there may not last much longer. Meanwhile, at Tottenham, Venkatesham has come under intense scrutiny from Spurs supporters, particularly for his initial backing and continued support of Thomas Frank, even as results and performances deteriorated from December onward. Eventually, Igor Tudor was appointed interim manager, and his first match in charge came in the most demanding fixture possible, the North London derby against Arsenal. Despite having just 7 days in the job, the 47-year-old Tudor understands the magnitude of the occasion and the adversity he's facing. "We trained with 13 players," Tudor admitted. "That's the reality. It's not ideal, but in moments like this, the challenge becomes even greater. And so does the opportunity to succeed." He added confidently, "We will have 13 players ready, and that's more than enough to achieve what we want on Sunday. I understand the importance of this match. It's a North London derby. Everyone expects 3 points from us. We are aware of that." Arsenal, however, arrive at the derby carrying frustration of their own. Consecutive draws against Wolves and Brentford have slowed their momentum, and Mikel Arteta made it clear there could not be a better fixture to respond. "It's the next game, and it's the one we're most excited to play," Arteta said. "If we could play today, we would. We have to use that feeling in our stomach the right way, and show it on Sunday." There are also selection decisions looming. Despite Eberechi Eze scoring 3 times in the reverse fixture, his place in midfield is no longer guaranteed. Competition has intensified, particularly after positive fitness updates on Kai Havertz and Martin Odegaard, both capable of operating in similar roles. "We'll have to wait until tomorrow," Arteta said cautiously. "But there's a strong possibility that both of them will be available." With tension rising both on and off the pitch, this derby feels bigger than usual. Arsenal are reshaping their leadership structure. Tottenham are battling instability, and both clubs are searching for momentum at a crucial stage of the season. Sunday won't just be about 3 points. It's about direction, identity, and control in North London. The broader picture, however, stretches beyond one derby or one boardroom exit. What is unfolding at Arsenal is a defining phase. a moment where structural decisions off the pitch could shape the club's competitiveness for years to come. The departure of James Ellis raises natural questions about continuity and recruitment strategy. Arsenal have invested heavily in building a data-driven, modern scouting network over the past few seasons. Under Mikel Arteta's leadership, recruitment has largely aligned with a clear footballing identity: younger profiles, tactical intelligence, technical security, and long-term resale value. Now, with Maurizio Micheli and Andrea Berta positioned as key figures, the club appears to be centralizing authority even further. For supporters, the concern isn't necessarily change, it's instability. Frequent turnover at executive level can create uncertainty during crucial transfer windows. With the summer approaching and expectations growing after consecutive near-title pushes, Arsenal cannot afford missteps in squad planning. Rivals are strengthening. Margins are thin. Every decision matters. On the pitch, the North London derby carries added psychological weight. Arsenal's recent draws against Wolves and Brentford weren't just dropped points. They dented momentum at a critical juncture of the season. Title races are often defined by response, how quickly a team reacts after disappointment. Arteta understands that narrative. Privately, there is belief within the squad that performances have not dipped as sharply as results suggest. Arsenal have maintained strong possession metrics, defensive structure, and chance creation numbers in recent matches. The issue has been efficiency, converting control into decisive moments. Against Tottenham, that margin for waste disappears. For Spurs, the situation feels even more volatile. Igor Tudor's interim appointment reflects urgency rather than long-term planning. Training sessions with limited numbers underline the squad's injury struggles, and depth will be tested against one of the league's most organized sides. Yet derby matches rarely follow logic. Emotional intensity often overrides tactical predictability. Another layer to the story is the competitive landscape at the top of the table. With Manchester City and Liverpool maintaining relentless standards, any slip can reshape the standings instantly. Arsenal know that draws at this stage can feel as damaging as defeats. The pressure is no longer about proving progress. It's about delivering silverware. Internally, Arteta's message has reportedly been direct: block out external noise. The boardroom reshuffle, media speculation, and scrutiny around player selection cannot bleed into matchday focus. Leadership inside the dressing room, particularly from senior figures, becomes crucial in moments like this. There is also anticipation around the possible return of Kai Havertz and Martin Odegaard. Their availability would not only boost tactical flexibility, but also restore leadership and composure in key phases of play. If both are fit, Arteta faces a selection dilemma, but one he would welcome. In North London, perception shifts quickly. One result can calm doubts or intensify them. A victory would reassert Arsenal's authority, silence questions about momentum, and reinforce belief in the current project despite executive turnover. A setback, however, would amplify concerns about consistency at the worst possible time. Ultimately, this is a convergence of narratives: structural change, title ambition, squad depth challenges, and historic rivalry. The derby will not define the entire season, but it will send a message. And right now, both clubs are desperate to control that message.